no need to do so to this audience, all in the devoted service of Kumbu. To call him the ornament of the world today, not just of Tibetans or of India, would be apt, for it's hard to think of a single other leader and individual who has influenced so many people around the world in the direction of engaged compassion, profound reasoned wisdom, and secular ethics. For Tibetans, as Nari Rinpoche says in his foreword to Tenzin Geshe-la's recent book, His Holiness is the single rallying point for their unique spiritual, linguistic, and cultural identity and the struggle for autonomy. For Indians, His Holiness is the living embodiment and foremost ambassador of our ancient Indian wisdom traditions. For me personally, His Holiness is the reliable guide, as the Buddha is termed in chapter 2 of Pramana Vartika, and I quote in English, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Shagata, and protector, to you I pay homage. In Tibetan, this verse is Semar Gurpa Dola Fenshepa, Tonpa Deshe Kyobla Chagsel Lo. It is therefore an immense joy that we are able to virtually gather today to recite prayers for Gyalwa Rinpoche's long life. We commence today's program with setting up proper motivation and other prayers, recitations in Tibetan by Venerable Geshe Lobsang Gyaltsenla. Sorry, I made a mistake talking about the founder of IBD, who it's very auspicious actually. So I will turn to our Geshe-la to please lead the prayers first in Tibetan, as is traditionally done always on this day. Thank you so much.
Rola pensi tuji raptende pangdo chopa
Yoba
donya
chunye
tade la penjo
lamila.
tamge donan tense towa mabe nye marang ke cha te jayon kongten tade tenye ten tande tenjo reson samo se se lawe longchen tenjo tende so te luto shala soan se to keshen to pe cho jena to ta ja te padra shen luto shong zin ge to kan le ja se pa pa la la so Tabe Gongpa Tenjong Taro Den Daoye Ninggang Zangge Same Den Hanze Zhoba Chouye Sashekpa Sangye Jangge Shabla Sowan Den Denbe Ngobo Jezo Taga Jian Tsema Tuna Chidun Sheba Ye Sunje Yongzo Pante Tabe Denje La Sowan Den Dele Denye Tiba Zamye Ge Tanye Sebe Nangdo Ome Sabje Dongke Donga Yongzo Lam 现在的我找不着了，说我这没就你这准备了，啥大家接着做那么给盖上都接错了，等个这些希望了说的，都接看清，看到我们了兄弟。我这里说看见这，看完就说家等待在吧，看见希望错了说。他的欧面拉大西拉松，光边多举心多来的呢。长江家等出面现在把边边昂走下不了说。前边接送提前等那个，来把那白给家钱蓝灯线，家外龙线马的新的。这个后面下不了说的，去年跟你刚说上的，到我的过那这。跟着你把这边开边叫，老北你下了说的，后边上了不到的把也，就是前面放假的年的，他们家老北定开什么，到给老北下了说，今那前面这个当中间，都是上街上去来的呢，没常去做东给。去给这边下了说。后面公家来用现在的人面，他的我们首先应该兄弟那边正在把周的下个说的，用的也公的面路线所说的，马诺来公这个悄悄把人的给下了说。老少人的那边得了，我的天天都白白来。家亲兄弟来看东西，叫小家给上了说。 Soson samjele kaso malupa, jibron ramdo jomde de, kanjon donde tebe tuje je, cho adi shala sewa se, tedaran zamle jenjuru kebe po, onza leje jenshu chonam, meje wambe gege sorda pe, deje mejen tora jingelo, che nido tenye penshi pe, tenshi kowa dodo chishi, Teme changpe chanchong tepa ten, talang tawa tawa jingel, luge jenshe tarpa tenye pe, ngenjo lo tang tonang chode, chodo chodo te ningye tawa jen, teme changse chongpa jingel, da chepe shungyo tena la, tusang gompe poro chimpa, dorje tepe tamne langpin la, nge pra te la nye pra jingel, Teshin Dewa Lambo Tempe Ten Le Do Shetan Shunke Longdo Tenjin De La Shinda Chetam Tang Chung Pra Ten La Kawa Chepra Didi Kundu Tuzang Shidu Ke Chave Tuzda Lodo Yongdang Ambe Kedo Ando Pewa Ye Zamne Sajen Tazo Pejo Hedi Donga Yongdo Salam Nindo Nakshen Jawa Ye Obo Nye Nye Do Jom Nye Ne Nangpa Chi Se Jove Dunje Sho Tashi Dilek Kenda wala
With my deepest obeisance to His Holiness, I recite the prayer, The Benefits of the Awakening Mind, Chapter 1, A Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life, by Bodhisattva Shantideva. Respectfully, I prostrate myself to the Sugatas who are endowed with the Dharmakaya, as well as to their noble children, and to all who are worthy of veneration. Here I shall explain how to engage in the vows of the Buddha's children, the meaning of which I have condensed in accordance with the scriptures. There is nothing here that has not been explained before, and I have no skill in the art of rhetoric. Therefore, lacking any intention to benefit others, I write this in order to acquaint it to my mind. For due to acquaintance with what is wholesome, the force of my faith may increase because of these. If, however, these are seen by others, equal in fortune to myself, it may be meaningful for them. Leisure and endowment are very hard to find, and since they accomplish what is meaningful for humanity, if I do not take advantage of them now, how will such a perfect opportunity come about again? Just as a flash of lightning on a dark, cloudy night for an instant brightly illuminates all. Likewise, in this world, through the might of Buddha, a wholesome thought rarely and briefly appears. Hence, virtue is perpetually feeble, the great strength of immortality being extremely intense, and except for a fully awakening mind, by what other virtue will it be overcome? All the Buddhas who have contemplated for many aeons have seen it to be beneficial, for by it the limitless masses of beings will quickly attain the supreme state of bliss. Those who wish to destroy the many sorrows of their conditioned existence, those who wish to experience a multitude of joys, and those who wish to experience much happiness should never forsake the awakening mind. The moment an awakening mind arises in those fettered and weak in the jail of cyclic existence, they will be named a child of the Sugatas and will be revered by both humans and gods of the world. It is like the supreme gold-making elixir, for it transforms the unclean body we have taken into the priceless jewel of a Buddha form. Therefore, firmly seize this awakening mind, since the limitless mind of the sole guide of the world has upon thorough investigation seen its preciousness. All beings wishing to be free from the worldly abodes should firmly take hold of this precious awakening mind. All other virtues are like plantain trees, for after bearing fruit, they simply perish. Yet the perennial tree of the awakening mind, unceasingly bears fruit and thereby flourishes without end. Like entrusting myself to a brave person when greatly afraid, by entrusting myself to this awakening mind, I shall be swiftly liberated. Even if I have committed extremely unbearable wrongs, why then to the conscientious do not devote themselves to this? Just like the fire at the end of an age, it instantly consumes all great wrongdoing. Its unfathomable advantage were taught to the disciple Sudhana by the wise Lord Maitreya. In brief, the awakening mind should be understood to be of two types: the mind that aspires to awaken and the mind that ventures to do so, as is understood by the distinction between aspiring to go and actually going. So the wise understand in turn the distinction between these two. Although great fruits occur in cyclic existence from the mind that aspires to awaken, an uninterrupted flow of merit does not ensue as it does with the venturing mind. And for those who have perfectly seized this mind with the thought never to turn away from totally liberating the infinite forms of life, from that time hence, even while asleep or unconcerned, a force of merit equal to the sky will perpetually ensue. For the sake of those inclined towards the lesser vehicle, this was logically asserted by the Tathagata himself in the sutra requested by Subahu. If even the thought to relieve living creatures of merely a headache is a beneficial intention endowed with infinite goodness, then what need is there to mention the wish to dispel their inconceivable misery, wishing every single one of them to realize boundless good qualities? Do even fathers and mothers have such a benevolent intention as this? Do the gods and sages, does even Brahman have it? If those beings have never before even dreamt of such an attitude for their own sake, how would it ever arise for the sake of others? This intention to benefit all beings, which does not arise in others even for their own sake, is an extraordinary jewel of the mind, and its birth is an unprecedented wonder. How can I fathom the depths of the goodness of this jewel of the mind, the panacea that relieves the world of pain, and is this the source of all its joy? If merely a benevolent intention excels veneration of the Buddhas, then what need to mention striving to make all beings without exception happy? Although wishing to be rid of misery, they run towards misery itself. Although wishing to have happiness, like an enemy, they ignorantly destroy it. For those who are deprived of happiness and burdened with many sorrows, it satisfies them with all joys, dispels all suffering, and clears away confusion. Where is there a comparable virtue? Where is there even such a friend? Where is there merit similar to this? If whoever repays a kind deed is worthy of some praise, then what need to mention the bodhisattvas who do good without it being asked of them? The world honors as virtues one who sometimes gives a little plain food disrespectfully to a few beings, which satisfies them for only half a day. What need be said then of one who eternally bestows the peerless bliss of the Sugatas upon limitless numbers of beings, thereby fulfilling all their hopes? The Buddha has said that whoever bears a harmful thought against a benefactor such as a bodhisattva will remain in hell for as many eons as they were harmful thoughts. However, if a virtuous attitude should arise in that regard, its fruits will multiply far more than that. When bodhisattvas greatly suffer, they generate no negativity. Instead, their virtues naturally increase. I bow down to the body of those in whom the sacred precious mind is born. I seek refuge in that source of joy who brings happiness even to those who bring harm. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Venerable Geshe-la, to Dr. Gegela, and to Gen Seringla, and for all the beautiful recitation that has, prayer recitation that has preceded. So, dear esteemed audience of monastics, of faculty and students, on this most auspicious occasion of Trungkar tashi delek, and His Holiness's birthday, there cannot be any greater joy and honor than to deliver my first address to you as principal, the Dalai Lama Institute for Higher Education, Bangalore. Were it not for COVID, we would gather together in person to plant trees and recite prayers, but we are making the best of a difficult situation. I hope that all of you and your families have remained well during this past year and a half, and I offer my condolences to those of you who lost dear ones during this pandemic. Let us pray that this heavy collective negative karma, finally that is born out of ignorance and a self-centered attitude of nations, of provinces, of individuals, is soon past. I am sure you are all wondering who your new principal really is. So apart from my formal CV that was circulated and is circulated soon in Tibetan by Gen Seringla, who kindly has had it translated, I would like to give you a glimpse into my background, my motivation for accepting this role, and a brief blueprint of what I aim to achieve in the next 2 years. When I received the invitation from Amala Jetsun Pemala to become the principal of the Dalai Lama Institute for Higher Education in Bangalore, it is the first and only time in my life that I accepted a job straight away. Without consulting my family, my elderly Pala, who is 1 month older than His Holiness, my Amala, or indeed visiting the institution, or even assessing whether my university would actually give me leave. It is only next week, hopefully on Lakarsang and Chokar Duchen, that I will first lay foot in the Dalai Lama Institute. Nalanda Buddhist philosophy, of which I am an ardent and long-term student, lays a lot of emphasis on dependent origination, or Tendil in Tibetan, being the opposite side of the coin of emptiness or Tongni. Indeed, the special terminology to describe this, coined by Acharya Chandrakriti, known as Lopen Dawa Dakpa in Tibetan, and used a lot by His Holiness, is dependent origination through mere conditioning, or Tendil Kenni Dipasam. This is mentioned in Gen Larimpa's Mandala offering prayers. So without going into details, let us just say that a lot of conducive causes and conditions have led to this precious moment of my assuming this role. As Buddhist philosophy also lays a lot of emphasis on motivation. For instance, the Lojong or mind training texts speak of two, one at the beginning and one at the end, alluding to motivation and dedication. Let me lay out here my precise intention. This is to make an offering of deeds to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, using all the various aspects of my background and life so far, from my academic training and teaching at the University of Cambridge and in India, to my very small understanding of but vast love for Dharma, to my Indian outward identity, to deploy them all to the best of my capacity for the betterment of the Dalai Lama Institute for Higher Education during my tenure. The greatest practice, it is said, is to follow what a teacher wants us to do. And therefore, my own aim and hope is that via this role, I can help further all four of His Holiness's commitments, which are, just to recount briefly, inculcating universal secular ethics, promoting interfaith harmony, preserving and promoting Tibetan culture and the environment as well, and most recently, to also preserve and promote ancient Indian wisdom traditions. DLIHE is an institution of immense importance for the following reasons. It lies at the apex of the remarkable TCV family of educational institutions for Tibetans that was one of the first projects in exile, and that emphasized both maintaining one's own culture, language, and traditions, even while keeping up with modern systems of education. Amala Jetsun Pemala has devoted her entire life to the growth and well-being of the TCV family, at present under the able leadership of Gen Thupten Dorjila. My own first connection to TCV was being a sponsor for 2 children at Upper TCV. Auspiciously, I first heard and noted the Tibetan term of the motto of TCV, others before self, or Shen Pen. Please excuse my Tibetan pronunciation if I'm wrong. From the previous principal of the Dalai Lama Institute, again, Professor B. Seringla, when she gave a wonderful talk at a conference organized by Tibet House Delhi some years ago. I would like at this point to acknowledge and give thanks for the immense dedication and hard work put in by again Professor B. Seringla over so many years to get the Dalai Lama Institute to where it is today, with affiliations to the University of Bangalore and the University of Mysore. She has also been the teacher of my own teachers, including Venerable Geshe Dorji Damdolla. So they are big shoes to fill, and I hope I am able to do justice. I come into this role at a time of much larger challenges for the Tibetan struggle for autonomy and its seat being India. To recount just 2, the Chinese Communist Party's largely stopping of Tibetan children seeking to come into exile in India since 2008, and the migration of many Tibetan youth from India to the West due to the complex citizenship and identity questions in India. I am also very cognizant and humble about my not being a Tibetan and sadly not speaking Tibetan at this point. Please be patient with me if I get the cultural context wrong or I make mistakes. To make you laugh, when I initially saw the Dalai Lama Institute logo, I thought it was Arya Tara seed syllable Tam, only to be told, and not by anybody at the Dalai Lama Institute who were too polite, that it is actually Ta, the opening syllables of Dalai Lama. So I have a lot to learn, and I am aware of that, and also, look to your teaching me on so many fronts. But every disadvantage in life, mine being that I am not Tibetan and I do not speak Tibetan at this point, is also an advantage from another perspective. First is my absolute love for Tibetans, so that perhaps inwardly my identity, born of maybe recent past lives, I do not know, is Tibetan, and even gastronomically might even be from Amdo, because I love tentuk so much and I can eat it endlessly in any season, morning, night, and day. I became vegetarian after some classes on bodhicittas few years ago, so vegetarian tentuk, but still I love tentuk even more than thukpa. But still, there's no place for any discord between provinces. Indeed, I have interacted a lot with younger Tibetans in Tibet House Delhi and elsewhere in various capacities for some years now, and this has truly humbled me. Their resilience and spirit in the face of so much hardship from a very young age that being a refugee in another country bestows has been truly inspirational for me. Some people, if you go through a lot of hardship, you become much harder in life, and it is the opposite for young Tibetans. And I also feel that even this continues today. You are scattered all over the world, everyone's family is everything. So this is something that I have learned from younger Tibetans, and I hope to learn more. To know Tibetans is to love them, in my personal experience. And therefore, one very big emphasis during my tenure will be to build bridges and connect both the faculty and students at the Dalai Lama Institute to the many fine Indian academic institutions and academics in and around Bangalore, India, and also internationally, including at my alma mater, Cambridge University. This is a singularly important for the following reasons. The Dalai Lama Institute is located close to Bailakuppe, Mungod, and Hunsur, some of the largest Tibetan settlements in India. Second, the role of Tibetan youth in India is critical for the struggle for Tibet's autonomy going forward. On both these fronts, given the Dalai Lama Institute's many advantages, its geographical location in a metropolitan and highly educated part of India, which South India is, I can say as North Indian, it is comparatively much more higher literacy education than the North. sits surrounded by fantastic academic institutions, as well as it's itself being a higher education institution, allows us to exploit these advantages to have a vast and long-term vision a few decades into the future and where we wish to be at that point. It is my hope that the Dalai Lama Institute becomes very well known and well loved in the region and beyond, with its embeddedness strengthening Tibetans in India and their struggle. Another disadvantage that is somewhat of an advantage from our perspective in furthering the above goals is the absolute explosion of online gatherings in higher education and academia that allow for building collaborations and networks at minimal cost across the world. I hope we can make the most of this unfortunate circumstance, for many predictions are suggesting that the online mode is the future in all education systems. The main focus during my tenure will be academic strengthening via various channels. Higher education is distinct from schooling in many respects, not least in developing critical skills, and both the faculty, your pedagogic systems, and other endeavors, plus the student body, must reflect this distinction. In this singular focus, I will be greatly assisted by the fact that the institution is already ably managed administratively, and I do not intend to micromanage at all. A final big picture aim during my tenure, born out of my own positionality as an Indian academic teaching development economics, while seriously pursuing Nalanda philosophy teachings in English, is to bridge the following binaries: that regular subjects are taught in English and specialized subjects only in Tibetan. The hope is the latter may be expanded to include instruction in both Tibetan and English to cater to a growing audience of younger educated Indians and even foreigners who may be interested, and whereby His Holiness's fourth commitment is greatly promoted as he wishes. If the Dalai Lama Institute can become an institution offering accredited degrees in all the above, it would be something extremely meaningful for generations to come. Because there are many people here, many from IBD, from SARA, from many places where even thus far there is no accreditation of some of the degrees, and that's critical because later then, one can start teaching in other mainstream Indian academic universities or foreign ones, and thereby spread this very, very precious philosophy. In conclusion, just as the great elder Indian Bengali Jowo J. Palden Atisha went to Tibet, in my very, very humble ordinary capacity, I feel I am tracing his footsteps as I make my way to a very critical Tibetan institution physically next week. Collaboratively and collectively, I hope that we can all together achieve even a drop of what Jowo J did. And in this quest, I seek all of your cooperation to be brave enough to attempt change where required, while of course preserving what has worked well. I would like to thank the DLIHE Management Committee, especially Dr. Gegela for doing such a fine job as interim principal, to Gen Seringla, and to Venerable Geshe Dorji Gurmela for their great efforts to help me learn more about the Dalai Lama Institute in recent months, and for making me feel so welcome already. May His Holiness, the White Lotus, always be seated on a Vajra throne, and may all his wishes be fulfilled spontaneously, and may I repay the trust reposed in me by Amala Jetsun Pamela to serve the Tibetan people and the youth in particular to the best of my capacity. I will now recite some prayers of dedication, one for the well-being of Tibet, which was composed by His Holiness, and the other is an aspiration prayer. The drumbeat of truth, supplication to Shakyamuni Buddha. I bow down to you, the liberator, lion of the Shakyas, who perfected all ultimate qualities of omniscience and compassion, who has been praised as the white lotus, the protector of all beings, who dispels all sufferings through the teachings of dependent arising. As you prophesied and foretold through your glorious speech, that your teachings would spread in a northerly direction. The entire teachings of the conqueror spread throughout the land of snows, becoming an ornament and sign of good fortune for the world. However, due to the force of unwholesome deeds, today the teachings of the conqueror have declined. O greatly compassionate one, the time has come to bestow protection with compassion. The environment and beings, spent and drained through unending suffering, are on the brink of extinction. Thus, the entire human and celestial population of the land of snows are drawn together out of intense faith, solidarity, and altruism to offer this ornamental crown protrusion of refined gold, this supreme alms bowl of a sage, and these fine saffron robes. Whatever extensive collection of merit and wisdom results from these offerings, as well as all the heaps of virtue of the three times, I dedicate to the conqueror's teachings, the source of all peace and happiness for all beings, including the celestials. So the teachings will not decline, but will abide for a very long time. For all sentient beings within the expanse of space, and in particular, all inhabitants of this rose apple land, may loving and compassionate thoughts and deeds prosper, and violent conflict cease forever. Having dispelled all inner and outer obstacles and downfalls, such as poverty, despair, oppression, cruelty, epidemics, and natural disasters due to environmental degradation, may all beings forever enjoy the glory of peace and happiness. Inseparable from the precious radiance of appreciating others' good qualities and recognizing mutually close ties and friendship, maintaining an unbiased attitude towards all who follow Buddhist and non-Buddhist traditions, may I voluntarily enact deeds solely for the benefit of all sentient beings. Especially in the refreshingly cool land, may the degenerated teachings of the conqueror be restored and prosper without decline. And with the renewed peace and joy of spiritual and temporal freedom, may the immediate and long-term aspirations of the Tibetan people be quickly fulfilled. May all those individuals whose service has contributed to keeping the banner of spiritual and temporal deeds aloft in the land of snows continue to shoulder their responsibility with a dedicated spirit and informed mind. May they be looked after in life after life by the holder of the lotus. In the realm of the Dharma, may the heaps of irreligious deeds be dispelled by the truth, and all positive temporal and spiritual activities, which are altruistically motivated, be quickly fulfilled in accord with the Dharma. By the truth of the Dharma, may everything sacrilegious come to an end. The colophon says, this supplication prayer I offer before the Supreme Buddha image at the supremely sacred place of Bodh Gaya. I have here focused upon the general and specific matters concerning the well-being of sentient beings and the flourishing of the teachings, composed by the Buddhist Bhikshu Tenzin Gyatso, the Dalai Lama, in the Tibetan year 2131, 15th day of the 12th month of the wood monkey year. May it thus be fulfilled. And the aspiration prayer of Samanta Bhadra, an excerpt. I bow down to the youthful Arya Manjushri, you lion amongst humans, gone to freedom in the present, past, and future, in the worlds of 10 directions. To all of you with body, speech, and sincere mind, I bow down. With the energy of aspiration for the Bodhisattva way, with a sense of deep respect, and with as many bodies as atoms of the world, to all you Buddhas visualized as real, I bow down. On every atom are Buddhas, numberless as atoms, each amidst a host of Bodhisattvas, and I am confident the sphere of all phenomena is entirely filled with Buddhas in this way. With infinite oceans of praise for you and oceans of sound from the aspects of my voice, I sing the excellence of Buddhas and celebrate all of you Shugathas. Beautiful flowers and regal garlands, sweet music, scented oils and parasols, sparkling lights and sublime incense, I offer to you victorious ones. Fine dress and fragrant perfumes, sandalwood powder heaped high as Mount Meru, all wondrous offerings in spectacular array, I offer to you victorious ones. With transcendent offerings, peerless and vast, with profound admiration for the Buddhas, with strength of conviction in the Bodhisattva way, I offer and bow down to all victorious ones. Every harmful action I have done with my body, speech, and mind, overwhelmed by attachment, anger, and confusion, all these I openly lay bare before you. I lift up my heart and rejoice in all the merit of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in 10 directions, of solitary realizers, hearers still training, and those beyond, and of all ordinary beings. You who are the bright lights of the worlds in 10 directions, who have attained a Buddha's omniscience through the stages of awakening, all you who are my guides, please turn the supreme wheel of Dharma. With palms together, I earnestly request, you who may actualize parinirvana, please stay with us for eons numberless as atoms of the world, for the happiness and well-being of all wanderers in samsara. Whatever slight merit I may have accumulated by making prostrations, offering and confessing, rejoicing and requesting that the Buddha stay and teach, I now dedicate this for the full awakening of all beings. Jang chop sam cho kren po che ma ke
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kadinche, Chachina, and I hope to see you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Tunggu test delay.
Kuyu Trungkar
Thank
letters
you,
delay.
ma'am.
Samalo Kuyu Trungkar letters delay.
Thank you, madam. See you next week.
Thank you. Thank you, Tushina.
Tunggu test delay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Tunggu, tunggu is delay.
Tashi
Bye-bye.
delay.
Wait,
See you
tunggu
next
letters
time.
delay.
Sorry, the meantime, madam, connection.
Thank you, ma'am.
他这的切上，我就是他这切呢。那配那就不。